It was supposed to be a quiet weekend at Hotel Transylvania. A gentle mist shrouded the ancient battlements, and the howling of wolves blended with the rustling trees in the surrounding forest. The guests sleeping in their cozy, creaky beds had no idea what was about to unfold. But down in the main hall, a storm was brewing, and at the center of it, of course, was Count Dracula himself. Now, if there's anything the all-powerful vampire has learned from running a hotel for monsters, it's that even with all his magical might, nothing ever stays simple for long. This weekend, however, was set to be memorable even by Hotel Transylvania's standards. You see, things had changed a lot since Johnny Loughran, a tall, energetic human with a head full of wild red curls, married Drac's beloved daughter, Mavis. There was almost peace between humans and monsters. Almost. But Johnny, for all his upbeat optimism, always had a knack for mishaps. This was about to become very important. As day broke, bats picking off the last of the morning dew, the hotel buzzed with a sense of anticipation. A new invention was about to be revealed. Van Helsing, the world's most persistent, albeit eccentric, monster hunter and now reluctant hotel handyman, had announced his latest technological marvel, a monstrification ray. Yes, that's right. A device intended to turn monsters into humans and humans into monsters for research and recreational purposes, he'd said, waggling his wild white eyebrows. Of all the people to be curious about this device, Johnny was the first in line. After all, he'd always wanted to feel more monster-y, to fit in with his in-laws. He sidled up to Van Helsing's laboratory, sneaking between rows of arcane equipment, his sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. Van Helsing, fiddling furiously with mysterious glowing parts, barely noticed Johnny's approach. Careful, young man. This is the product of centuries of, well, trial and error. Mostly error. He hadn't finished the warning before Johnny's hand, true to form, landed on the wrong switch. A click, a whir, a surge of green and purple light, and a sudden flash. When the smoke cleared, Johnny wasn't quite himself. He felt different, taller, furrier. Looking in the polished brass of an overturned lamp, he saw, to his utter glee and Van Helsing's horror, a colossal, bouncy dragon. I'm a monster, he hollered, spinning in a delighted circle. But what starts as fun rarely stays that way for long in Hotel Transylvania, for the machine hadn't spared anyone standing nearby. As Drac marched in, ready to scold Johnny for meddling where he shouldn't, a blast of energy engulfed him too. In one impossible moment, the legendary Count Dracula became an ordinary human, balding, mortal, and completely salad green with nausea. The scene in the hallway was, to put it generously, chaos. Frankenstein lost his bolts and gained a rather impressive goatee. Murray the mummy unwrapped into a pudgy middle-aged man. Wayne the werewolf transformed into a bookish scholar. With so many kids, he'd always wanted peace and quiet. And Griffin, the invisible man, finally visible, and, as it turned out, shockingly average-looking. Everyone paused, contemplating their new bodies. Monsters turned human, humans now monstrous. Mavis stared with wide eyes at Drac, still in his pajamas, looking confused and slightly sunburned for the first time in centuries. What did I do? Johnny squeaked, accidentally tail-thumping a decorative vase, which burst into 1,000 porcelain shards. Van Helsing frantically scurried over, his robotic arm clanking. No worries, he proclaimed, trying not to sound worried in the least. The effects are completely reversible if, that is, I can find the right power crystal. You know, that rare, glowing artifact lost in the heart of the Amazon jungle, that one. He smiled sheepishly. Thus began the strangest quest the hotel had ever seen. Get to South America, survive the jungle, retrieve the crystal, and restore everyone to normal, Before Drax knew, humanness became permanent. Within hours, a ragtag crew assembled at the hotel's private tarmac. Drac, clutching sunscreen and nervously eyeing the sun. Johnny, growing more monstrous and excitable by the minute. Mavis, ever supportive but deeply worried. Frankenstein, enthusiastically repacking his suitcase for the third time, and Murray, already complaining about the humidity. The werewolf Wayne carried a duffel bag labeled Emergency Bones, while Griffin wandered in circles, peering down at his newly visible toes. The jet, piloted as ever by the delightfully unpredictable gremlins, rocketed into the sky, setting course for Brazil. No one seemed concerned about customs, but customs, as it turned out, would have a great many concerns about them. Touching down at a rickety airstrip wedged between rainforest and river, the group took stock. Johnny, now a neon green dragon covered in iridescent scales, led the way by stomping down tangled brush, tail wagging merrily. Drac, meanwhile, realized the profound agony of walking through mud in loafers. It was strangely humbling for someone who once commanded armies of bats. Mavis, determined to keep spirits high, mapped out the route. The Amazon, however, wasn't about to make their journey easy.